Bro, this don't say gay thing is basically Jussie Smollett. No, for real. Like, they've made up a problem in their own minds, and now they're complaining about a problem they made up. And Republicans are complaining about how the problem they made up is actually a good thing. And I'm like, what is going on? So, like, I'm seeing Ben Shapiro tweet at them, and he's like, why are you trying to indoctrinate kids? This bill stops that. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Right.
It's like the left made it up, complained about it, and then the right argued it was a good thing, but none of it is true.
they got baited into defending it essentially.
Yep.
No, that was one of those.
It's the don't say straight bill, by the way.
That was the one as soon as I saw, I was kind of like, whatever you guys are saying, it's not that. I go, what's actually going on here? Everyone seems to be lying.
Yeah.
But, no.
It's so I've called it the anti-grooming bill as kind of a point. And I say that to as a point to counter the Democrats calling it "Don't Say Gay."
No, I know what you mean, but it is I was
going to say the better point is called "Don't Say Straight." Yeah. There's literally no difference between straight and gay when the context is identity or orientation. So if the bill restricts classroom discussions from preschool to third grade on orientation, then you can't say straight.
What about "Don't secretly talk about sex with students" bill? It doesn't
stop that. That's the thing. It actually encourages. This is the craziest thing. The bill encourages teachers to secretly talk to children about these things.
I thought that it was banning them from secretly talking to children.
No, you are incorrect.
Man, it sucks to have kids.
What?
Right now.
You're saying it's like the Catholic Church being like, any sex talk's got to be one-on-one.
The bill restricts classroom discussions from preschool to third grade on gender identity or orientation. That's not the bulk of the bill. Like the actual bulk of the bill is parents must be informed about medical issues involving their children. That's it. So it's like a kid who stubs his toe. Tell the parents the kid got hurt.
Let's say that you are the person who would be on the non-Republican side, super in favor of kids. Is there anyone arguing that sex needs to be taught to JK?
Yes.
Like, is that
100%?
So how old are you when you're JK?
Like 6, 5?
So they're saying 5-year-olds need to be like, here's what anal sex
No.
looks like.
It's 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
Preschool is 4 years old, and third grade goes up to 8-year-olds.
Where's that? Where are they arguing that should happen?
So the issue is that this is why I said
anyone legitimately is there?
So
or
CNN,
is this not like fringe bloggers, or is this
CNN
legitimate?
runs the story about Kate McKinnon, I think her name is, on SNL.
Oh yeah.
And she does a bit where she's first pretending that it's like you can't insult someone by calling them gay, and then she realizes what it actually is. But CNN shows the bill would restrict discussions of gender identity and orientation in preschool through third grade over Kate McKinnon talking about it. So I'm like, do we sit here and just assume that the people who go on CNN, the people who watch CNN, aren't aware of what the bill is and genuinely think it's stopping kids from talking about orientation? Or do we assume, based on CNN accurately reporting it, they know and they're trying to teach 4-year-olds about sexual activities?
Yeah, because you're. I see what your point is. You go, I mean, if you're lying, at least you're just up to your old tricks. But if you're not lying,
or
it's
dumb.
Worse, yeah, or whatever. Right?
So my thing is,
it's also just strange where you go. I get the. I think that people just they leave any sort of thought when they go, this is what our team thinks, and you go, really? You want to, like, what grown adult really wants to take someone else's kid and be like, let me tell you about sex when they're 4?
But the bill. Hold on, my friends. The bill doesn't stop this. A teacher, a janitor, a school district employee can walk.
Well, the janitor should be teaching you.
I learned all about sex from my janitor.
Because the bill says school district employee.
Yeah.
They can walk up to a group of 10 kids and say, kids, I'd like to talk to you about why you're trans. And the bill doesn't stop that. What the bill stops is that if they're in the classroom for a specific classroom discussion.
Well, does it encourage that though? It doesn't have anything to do with that. You're saying they're allowed to have one-on-ones, but they can't be teaching in a group setting.
They are allowed in group settings. They're not allowed in classroom settings.
They're not allowed in classroom settings.
Specifically means the bell rings, it's 9 a.m., the teacher walks in and says, everybody turn to page 17 and we're going to learn about oral.
Right.
They can't do that. They can, after class, walk
take
up
them
to
the
group,
woods and show them the...
I don't know about all that, but they can. So let's say there's a group of kids and they're talking about this stuff. The teacher can hear it and walk over and say, ask me anything you want and we'll talk all about it. They don't got to tell the parents. All of that is still acceptable and fine as far as Republicans are concerned.
I don't know, because they're still in a classroom setting, even if it's after
classroom discussions.
Even if it's like after school, if it's in the classroom.
It's essentially about the curriculum is what the argument's about, right?
Right. So one-on-one is in the clear. There may be some questions about with more than one person, But nothing is stopping a teacher from having let's just go to that point. A teacher can walk up to a student who's 4 years old by themselves, pull them out of the classroom.
Yo,
and
you
say,
gay or nah?
Right. Yeah. And but there's one thing the bill does. They can't say, don't tell your parents. They can't do that. So they can still have private discussions about this stuff. They can say literally nothing, but if they say, don't tell your parents, now they're crossing the line. They're
Like if
breaking
the
the
teacher
law.
says don't tell your parents?
Yeah.
And then what's this?
What about
transnormal
it? Should be
component?
how they say don't tell your parents. It could be like, hey, don't
They
tell
can't
your
dis-
parents.
they can't
you better
dissuade.
not tell your parents.
Well, they can't discourage or dissuade students from talking to their parents about medical issues. So this is the crazy thing about the bill, and we talked about it for like 3 days now, is that if a kid slips on vomit and breaks his arm, the teacher might go up to him and be like, we're going to get sued because that's our fault. And they go to the kid and they say, don't tell your parents how that happened. Just say you were playing outside.
Yeah, don't tell them that I had a couple extra today in class.
No, for real. And barfed.
Let them loose a little.
So, I mean, obviously drinking at school will be illegal for the teacher. But let's say a kid trips on something. It's a school's fault. And the school just comes up to them and knows the kid's not smart enough to address the issue and says, don't tell your parents. The kid goes home with a broken arm. They call the parents. Oh, he was playing outside. The kid doesn't tell his parents because the teachers told him not to.
No
now the insurance, now the insurance like, we're not covering it. And the school's like, it's not our fault. And now this poor middle class family is being put out. So the reason I bring that up is that the Democrats' narrative on the whole thing is just like they literally made it up. It has nothing to do with this bill. It is just like that's why I'm calling the bill.
Yeah,
don't say straight.
In your mind, you kind of go, yeah. Who even ever read this and interpreted that was what was happening?
Yeah, gay and straight's not a medical thing.
So what is the
It's
trans?
mental health.
What is the trans component?
Nothing. Identity and orientation, I suppose.
Well, wasn't it that if you're, K through 2 and you are taking hormones, you're supposed to notify the parents? Is that the idea?
Not in the bill. The bill just says if the teachers can't give medication to students.
Yeah.
If a student would be prescribed any kind of medication, the parents must be informed.
I'll
I'll tell you this.
I've been trying to get to the bottom of this, to be honest, because it did feel like I go, what the hell is actually happening here?
So let's say your kid's at
like
school,
a
right?
propaganda salad coming around from everywhere.
Let's say your kid's at school and he gets a stomach ache. And so they say, we want to give the kid some Pepto, make his stomach feel better. Got to tell the parents.
Good.
Democrats are opposed to that.
No.
Because the reality here is they're saying don't say gay as a psychological attack. Conservatives have fallen for it. Conservatives are playing into that narrative because the reality of the bill is they want to make sure parents don't know what's happening to their children, period. It's not about gay. It's not about straight. It's not even about any one specific thing. It's about saying don't let parents know what we're doing in general.
Because then we can now take that principle and do some
critical race theory.
Teach them whatever we want.
So they claim they're not teaching critical race
So it's
theory.
more about
than
that.
they admit it. It's just, it wasn't until COVID we actually learned what they were doing to kids because the Zoom classrooms and the teachers got freaked out. And like we saw these leaked calls where they're like, parents are finding out what I'm telling their kids. That's what it's about. The teachers can't teach children things, outside of curriculum. Parents can sue the teachers if they go outside curriculum. Teachers can't, take medical action against a child without parental consent or advisement. If a kid has a medical, mental, or physical issue, they have to inform the parents. And then one provision is preschool through third grade, you can't have classroom discussions on orientation or identity.
There is
All
something
very reasonable things.
It's not unreasonable. You know what else there is something to be said about? If you want to teach like essentially your worldview and propaganda, then be a university teacher. Because that's basically the job. You get to do your course and you can kind of teach whatever you want, and which is very worldview and very what you think. If you want to teach grade 7, maybe just teach the stuff.
You guys ever play Lemmings?
Yeah. I remember I played on like a Windows 95.
Yeah. I don't know. Who came up with the
I thought-
idea? NPC Lemmings.
I think it was Seamus.
Yeah, the idea would be, I think I was talking about how I play the game Lemmings on my phone. And the idea is someone mentioned they're programming a version of it where instead of lemmings, they're NPCs, like a little NPC meme. And we're going to, when you want to like dig through a wall, he puts on like an Antifa mask and starts like vandalizing the wall. And
Well, I thought this Russia stuff in general was a very, from back to back with COVID, just to show the extent to which it's so easy to get people hyped up on for whatever you want them to be hyped up about. And it's like, it's funny to point out sometimes, but you go, it's almost would just be like, man, it's almost just better to be a politician because you go, it is, or whatever. If you have a real agenda, it's very easy to get people jazzed up for whatever you want them jazzed up about.
Yeah.
And the hypocrisy doesn't matter. I mean, we were talking about all this trans stuff, but like all the stuff that they were mad at people about for 4 years straight, Ukraine could be doing all of that, and it could be, on video, and it'd be, all right, we don't care.
I mean, there was that you guys before the show, you pulled up Zelensky.
Right.
And he was doing like
exactly.
Roman salutes, Nazi salutes, and he was making jokes about buying Hitler's book and all that stuff.
Well, he's making jokes about how the Mein Kampf was sold out in the Ukraine.
Which is because the Azov
but
in the
imagine-
Western
yeah,
Ukraine
imagine
are
that.
like militant
that's
Nazis.
what we were
They've been
talking
around.
about.
No, but imagine
80
that
years.
was, some, politician running for New York. That's,
yeah, but also Putin was like, we're going to denazify, and everybody's like, okay, whatever. Like, that's your pretext. Nobody actually believes that. And then
We're the ones
see
that
it,
call
you're
people
like,
Nazis.
Yeah,
yeah.
but then you see it, and you're like, oh, there actually are like quite a bit
Yeah.
of like real Nazis.
in-
And then remember in the Ottawa thing, the protesters, and they go, there's like a Confederate flag, there's like a Nazi flag. You're all Nazis. And then you go, okay, so there's all these
guy?
people. Then are all these people in Ukraine Nazis then?
Yes.
All the people you all
But
support?
they don't care.
No, I know they don't care, but it's
No,
just
that's reserved for podcasters.
The Azov were basically in Western Ukraine during World War II. They were like insurgent Nazis that were fighting on the side of the Germans.
Right.
Yeah.
But my point
Left over
is,
from when Ukraine was a German protectorate after World War I.
so there's definitely like nuance to all of these points, but my point is that the nuance is granted very differently in every situation. And it's pretty egregious to the point where it's interesting. I would even see with other people, I go, they're not going to get hyped up about something completely opposite a day later, are they? And they will.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.